think now I think Dr. Shan has joined. So I think this is something which everybody is looking because everybody wants to jump into only AI and ML nowadays. And Shayan is probably one of the best of the bestest, I will tell, right now in Bangalore, who can give the right picture, what you need to know and what kind of jobs you actually do in ML, irrespective of the company you are aspiring, whether it is Google, Facebook, Amazon, VMware. So I think, and it will be more Q&A session with Shayan. So I think a lot of folks have a lot of questions regarding the ML and the AI. So feel free to ask, and maybe Sudip will give a little bit intro about Shayan also.
Dr. Shayan Pudurendu is a hands-on data scientist leader in researcher. He is currently working as a senior data science manager at Advanced Analytics and Data Science Center of Excellence in VMware. And prior to this, he was working in Amazon, Capgemini Consulting, Mu Sigma, and Infosys. He holds a PhD in Applied Statistics or Machine Learning from Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, where his research was high velocity data and streaming data, its application in the transportation industry. So Mr. Shine will participate in this Q&A session, question answer session, with students who are in dilemma to choose career path between a software developer and ML scientist. So over to Mr. Dr. Shine.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Yes, so it would be great if some of you have already heard about the field of data science, AI, and machine learning, how it is evolving. So I have been working in this domain since 2010, when it was very early days. So actually, I joined in way back in 2009 at Infosys as a software engineer or systems engineer, they used to call. And I worked in the IT sector for around 1.5 years, and then I made the move to a startup called Mu Sigma, which is not a startup anymore. I think it's a unicorn now. It's still a startup, but yeah. So those days, analytics was very different compared to what it is now. It has become much more competitive. Like the kind of switches were not that easy. So if you folks have any specific questions, I think I would like to take that up, and rather than say something generic. So yeah, please shoot if you have any questions.
You can unmute yourself and ask directly to Dr. Sham.
Yeah.
I think Kaushik should has some question regarding data warehouse and data mining difference. So he has some question. Kaushik, you can ask question.
Okay. So data warehousing and data mining. Okay, cool. So these two are quite related. Like both are working with data side, but it's a different skill set for both of them. So basically, we used to say something called data warehousing and ETL, extract, transform, loading. Very the most common skill set between these two is obviously SQL. So SQL, everybody should know how to fetch data from a database and all that, RDBMS and even unstructured database. If somebody has idea about that, those things are very good. But I would say that data warehousing is still within the IT side. Mostly we call it BI, business intelligence side. Basically where the work is more about getting the data, doing some very basic descriptive analysis, and also some sort of reporting. So by reporting, I mean it can also include visualization skill sets, like whether you know Tableau, or there are softwares like ClickView or even Power BI. So those are different skill sets. Data mining or data science or data analytics. So every company is using different terms basically, and in various companies it is a bit of overlap. So even in data analytics, we see that people do reporting work across different companies. But overall, data science or data mining is basically what is expected from you guys is that Of course, SQL is very important. Again, you should know how to fetch your data from the different databases and all that. One should have an understanding of three things: basically business understanding, uh, mathematical knowledge, or machine learning or statistical knowledge, and obviously programming. So programming can be in any language. Like earlier, it used to be SAS or SPSS people used to use. Nowadays, it's Python or R, mostly Python. Maybe tomorrow some other language will come, Julia or something. We don't know that, but yeah, for now, Python and R are pretty well standard for to set foot in this industry. So the idea here in data mining or data science is that for a particular problem, for a particular use case, you fetch your data, you do some basic analysis, like see the trend, see some basic plots, and try to understand, have some hypotheses ready, try to test them using and then build some basic machine learning models. So it can be regression, it can be a classification problem. So whatever problem it is, try to solve it and then give recommendation to the stakeholder. So here the role is of a data scientist or machine learning engineer. It varies across companies, but the idea is that you will get the data out, understand the problem, build a model, and then try to deploy it in production. Or basically try to make the stakeholder or whoever is your client, if you're in the service industry, basically to make them adopt your model. So that is the idea. Okay, in the chat I can see a question. Concept wise they're okay, but when it comes to real life programming, they can't have any such. Okay, yeah. See, so this is a question from Venu Madhav, that for a BTech student, concept wise they're okay, but when it comes to real life programming, they can't. Any suggestion can you give us? Okay, yeah. So yeah, programming is something I understand. Basically, during BTech, we tend to be focused. I mean, just trying to clear the exams and then get a job and get it done, right? So even for placement talks, we go through all our basic concepts and all that, so that we prepare for the rounds and all that. But programming is something that comes through practice. So basically one has to do some practice. So it can be any language, like see, if you can master one language, I believe that if you have the exact programming understanding, like how to write a control flow, uh, how to write loops, how to logically think through a problem, you can pick up any language when whatever comes. So somebody who is doing well in C++, he can easily pick up Java later on. Or somebody who is already well versed with Java, for him Python won't be much of a difference. But somebody who has never done programming, getting straight into Python, it may look a bit daunting. So initially the suggestion is to start small, look at simpler problems, which you try to solve it yourself. Just try to code at least a day, every day, some part, something which you can see. It can be through a book, it can be through some online courses, it can be through webinars, or wherever you find some basic examples. Try to solve them, try to optimize the code to see if you can get better solution, and keep building on it. So I know for job many people do. There are various sites like HackerRank. Then you have I think Lead Code and all that. So for a BTech student who, and for preparing for jobs and for all these kind of things, one can practice from there. But that you will go only after you have built the foundation, basically. So the idea is just keep practicing, start small, and keep building up your code base. So also there are a lot of resources available nowadays. Take help. Go to GitHub, see for some problems, somebody must have done some implementation, right? Try to understand from their code, then try to build if you can do well. If there are doubts, you can go to Stack Overflow, put your question there, you can see. So there are a lot of resources nowadays to get better at programming. Okay, next question is from JD. As a fresher, what we have to do to work in the AI section in product-based companies? Okay. Yeah, so as a fresher, obviously the expectations are different. So any top product-based companies would look for one thing is obviously programming knowledge, programming understanding, how good you can code. Second would be some concepts of statistics and machine learning, even if you don't know the depth, but at least the basics should be clear. And the third thing that they would like to know is little bit of, some companies actually test you on some good mathematical puzzles they ask, and those kind of things do happen. Some brain teasers and all that, but that is something that comes. Some questions are like whether either you know it or you don't. So that you can't prepare that much. You can see some brain teasers and prepare before the interview, but that should not be the priority. The priority is obviously do well in the programming side. So for any AI or data science based companies, the first thing that what I have seen from my experience and so many interviews that I have taken, the sequence is like this. The first round would be a kind of elimination round. I mean, this is not for a fresher. This is for more experienced guys. But obviously, few things would be overlap with the freshers also. One should have crystal clear concept in SQL. So they will ask you to write queries, some complicated queries. They will ask, try to solve them, write the syntax. So whenever you code or whenever you practice for interview, just ensure that you write your code, even if it is in a piece of paper, even if it doesn't execute. Because sometimes some companies like Facebook and especially Facebook, it's very harsh on even in syntax. It may sound unfair, but the idea here is that if you code regularly, if you do something regularly, uh, the things should be there in your subconscious mind at least. So when you start writing, it should come out. Yeah, sometimes you may not remember the exact date, exact function like max or how to extract date. Those things you may not remember. That is okay, as long as you know the logic and how to do it. So SQL is must. Some programming concepts like Python and R, it is expected, but not highly expected from freshers because it is known that people can pick it up. But if you have some knowledge, it will be better. Because some companies do ask very basic stuff, mostly in the next rounds, and then little bit of concepts of methods, basically statistical methods like what is regression, what is logistic regression, how you handle that, what is a clustering, k-means clustering. So all these things, these concepts, deep learning has also now come up. So in engineering also, people expect that since you're engineers, you should know a little bit about AI, a little bit about neural networks, what it does. So one can prepare on these lines, and yeah. Next question is from Venu Madhavi. Sonata Software is a good product based company. Okay, this okay. This I don't know much. I've heard about this company, Sonata Software, but I'm not sure whether. So the best suggestion if somebody needs to know whether it is a good or bad company, first is obviously you go to glassdoor.com, Glassdoor, and some reviews are fake, but there are some which are useful reviews. You can check that. Second is obviously if some of your seniors who is already working there or any of your friends, you can informally ask, and that is the way to do some research about a company. Okay, next is from Sagar. Two data science roles such as data scientist or ML engineer get chance to make ML predictive analytics model algorithm, or they mostly use existing algorithm for real world problems. Okay. Yeah, okay. So it depends, but I would say 95% of them use the latter one. That is they use the existing algorithms. So whether it is neural networks, whether it is machine learning, any support vector machine or anything, they use that. But there is a catch. See, you can't just use one model and just copy paste the code and expect that it will run, because every problem is different, every data set is different, every data distribution is different. So one model may run well in some other data set. You may copy it from there and put it here. It won't work. So you have to do various things like optimization, hyperparameter tuning, a lot of things you need to do. So mostly the role of data sciences or a machine learning engineer is applied work, right? They are here to solve business problems. They are not here to solve or research on creating new algorithms every day. That is something that researchers do. So the first thing that you're asking whether you're creating a new algorithm or not, like some of the folks in industry also, there are some roles of research scientists, right? Some roles may be misleading, but there are companies which actually do pure research. So you must have heard about Google Brain, where it's a group of PhD and all researchers are there. They think about solving new algorithms, developing new algorithms, like how they beat the Go player or the chess player. So like that, they are developing new algorithms. That is what the research guys do. MLE, that is the machine learning engineers and data scientists, their objective is to solve business problem. So Amazon may have a problem there are many people who are coming to my website and buying, but there are a lot of fraudsters also. So how can I capture them? So basically, this is a business problem, very vague. Now, how will you solve it? Basically, what you will do, and per day, millions of transactions are happening. So it's a huge data, right? So you have to comb through the data, you have to look for patterns, then try to figure out, okay, what kind of fraud can happen. Once it is there, then what you have to do is, can you develop a model which can predict beforehand a fraud is happening? So that is one scenario I have given. Another would be, let's say I have developed a product, my company, and my sales guy wants to sell it to the, they have to go to the customer, right? Sales will go to the customer, pitch it to the customer, then only a sale will happen. Now sometimes what can happen, I have 10 lakh customers. Now whom should I go to? So can you build a look at my customer data, look at the information of the customer, what is how rich he is, how many times he has bought the product from me in the past, using many informations like that. Can you predict whether he will buy it or not with a certain probability? So then, and you give the sales guy a list of, let's say, top 200. These are the guys who have maximum chance of pitching. So then he can go and then see and then pitch them, and then you can actually check whether your model is working or not based on the performance. So these are some of the problems that data scientists or ML guys solve. It is not necessary that you have to keep developing new algorithms, but you have to get the ones that work well. You have to make them in a create them, do some tuning and optimization for them, and deploy it in production, or basically make the stakeholder adopt it. Okay, next question from Koshikar. What platform used to build a product of AI and data science? Okay. Okay, there are various platforms and all that. Basically, obviously, if you are asking that which language I should use to write code, which is easy for deploying it in production, it is obviously Python for now. So basically, the way it happens is that you develop your code, you make it a pickle file or something, create an object like that, and then you work with software engineers, or sometimes ML engineers also try to do it themselves. So using some web application framework in Python like Django or Flask, whatever, and then you try to integrate with your product. So that is one thing. There are other examples also where people are using infrastructure, paid infrastructure from other cloud services like AWS, Azure, where also, again, the language mostly is used Python on top of it. But I've seen that some algorithms are using, or some products are also using Java codes. So yeah, mostly Python and Java, but in my experience, what I've seen is mostly in Python. But yeah, that is how it is. Obviously, you can build through AWS or something like that, or Azure.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I think that answers you.
yeah, I think I think you are getting questions non-stop. So one question which I also got just now on WhatsApp on student ping, I think it's pertaining to Rohit also. So for example, Shayan, you completely started as a PhD and became a scientist, I would rather say. On the contrary, Rohit, you started as a developer and eventually you started building the search recommendation engine. So as a ML, for example, maybe let's start with Rohit. Rohit, as a software developer, how much you need to know the nuisance of machine learning so that you talk intelligently with the machine or with the research scientist? How does it work? What kind of skill set requires? So can you a little bit elaborate, Rohit?
So basically, in the industry, what the from a fresher, what we are expecting, and that they should have the good understanding of the programming language. Any programming language, the concept of algorithms also, right? How the efficient algorithms they can write. After that, when they come to the industry, nature of the work is given to them. Like I have trained a lot of freshers in my companies also, and a lot of are reporting to me. Okay, so how I deliver the works to them in ML or AI stuff. Like suppose we are working on huge amount of data on, suppose example I am taking for spell corrections on search. So what we are going to collect the data. So data analysis is more required. Like big systems are there, like big tables from the Google, Hadoop and Hive systems are there. So how to query the Hive? Okay, so those kind of things we used to give to the actually the freshers. Like this kind of data I need. What are the failed searches are there? Null searches are there. So those kind of data just you can query to the Hive system and collect. Okay, then now I provide some basics of learning algorithms, that this kind of algorithms are more suitable to the data. So from there they get the experiences. Okay, and then they try to apply on the another problem. So in this way, the in the industry, a fresher gets the amount of work or the nature of the work, and from there they get training, and then they establish the good learning skills, and then they analyze further. Okay, the next kind of problem they are able to solve on their own skill sets, like they can apply some algorithms which they have learned. Okay, so basically in the industry, as he told, like all the existing algorithms are only used in the 99.5% of the cases. Okay, a very rare cases comes where a new algorithms is designed, but mostly there are a mix up of models are used. Okay. So this is the way freshers actually gets to learn in the industry.
Okay. So what about Shayan? I mean, when you, because you are a scientist, eventually you are handing over solution to an implementation engineer. So what you what you think? Okay, you sometimes it happens. You will feel good. Okay, if you are working with someone who knows little bit of machine learning, or maybe the guy who understands the backend better.
From freshers, right?
Yeah.
Because expectations are different from freshers and experienced folks. But yeah, from freshers, I think so. The way we onboard new team members from campus hires, basically, the way we do it is in our team is first we give them some data work. Even though they during the interviews they have done some, they say that they have done this course. So nowadays, a lot of courses are available, right, in online available, and they say they have done all that. But the way we do it is the first thing is that that they should have some passion about this field, and also they want that intention to learn should be there. So the way to develop that and to see that is first we ensure that they are very okay, or they understand the data sets fully, or the data warehouse or whatever is our data where it is stored. We store it in enterprise data warehouses, EDW, and we call that. So basically, we will give them some functions. Basically, in SQL queries, we will ask them to, can you go through this and just, can you create a table which somebody else has done, like similar? Can you do that yourself? Basically, once I give you some basic understanding, some data table descriptions, can you build that by yourself? So no pressure here. So that's how we start the ramp up. So first they will try it themselves. Once they do that, then we will try to give them a already one project that was done before by somebody, which is already accomplished. We'll give them the KT that he will tell you that this was what was done. Now we'll give them the data and ask them, can you build a model with a better accuracy, or whatever is your evaluation metric? Basically, can you try to build it better, or try something similar? So sharing of code is okay, but we don't encourage that. But yeah, little bit of these things, since we mostly work with open source software, so Python or R, so one is free to dive in and try that themselves. Once they do that, so that is the expectation from a fresher, because once they do that, we know now this person has completely onboarded, and then we start putting them in projects. And initially they won't be leading a project or handling it themselves, so obviously they will do some part of it, but slowly they will pick it up. So the expectation from the fresher is obviously to get your hands dirty. Basically, you should be always eager to get whatever work you get initially, so that you can build credibility in the team initial few months, few days. And once that is done, you can ramp up much faster. Yeah, does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much. So I think there is one question which Abhishek asked, which is I think it's,
Yeah, I will answer that.
yeah,
So
interesting
he's
question.
saying, okay, he has typed it twice. Okay. So all BTech students are having a big dream to be a good data science engineer. Will you suggest how to make strong fundamentals? Okay, because many students are not having good, but they are having big dream. Okay, okay. Yeah. So okay, got it. Yeah. So the way to approach this, Abhishek, is and for everyone else who is interested, the way to approach this problem is like uh, first is obviously on one side you're doing all your BTech curriculum courses. Try to see the ones that are actually more useful for you. Basically, courses on databases, courses on SQL, courses on some programming language. You try to do better there so that you save your time and effort to learn it somewhere else. So that is the first way to go. Don't try to see to just clear a semester exams or all that, or just for a job, but try to internalize. That is the first way to do it. Second is, I understand that some of the courses are not taught in, especially statistics heavy courses, right? They are not taught in BTech mostly. It depends on college obviously, but in WBUT I remember, or Macau, it's not done much. So for that, you have to prepare yourself. Obviously, one way to do it is to go through some online courses. Nowadays, a lot of courses are available, so one can actually take it. There are free courses also available, so one can do that as well. Try to understand the very basic fundamentals of code statistics. No, you don't need to be expert in statistics. That's not possible, right? So, but at least get hold of some good textbook. Like you have Introduction to Statistical Learning with Art, like ISLR. It's a famous book and very easy to understand. And actually, all the codes are implemented in art. So that should be the one thing that one should start with. That's what I feel. But there are other books also. So this is just a suggestion. So the idea is to try to understand what machine learning or what data science is. By that I mean what statistics is, what is a model building, what is bias, what is variance. So these jargons one should actually know. Because if you want to crack a good product-based company, these questions are expected. They will ask actually, what happens in regression? What is R square? So I'm just giving some examples. In neural networks also there will be questions. So and a little bit of hands-on, because once you start learning, unless you code it or try to program and try to see the results yourself or try it on any dummy data set or any real-world data set. See, getting a data set is not a big problem nowadays. No, you go to kaggle.com, Kaggle, all the data sets are there. Already problems are established. You can see people have some kernels are also available where codes are also written. Like people have already solved it. So that is the best. That is another place resource for you. Once you get your fundamentals right, why don't you go there and see what people are doing, how they write the code, and then try to understand that. That is one way to do it. Second is obviously build a portfolio. So Kaggle is a good way to build a portfolio. Basically, if you can get good ranks, that is actually attractive to any recruiter, especially for a fresher, if somebody is doing well in Kaggle and all that. But it is difficult, I understand. But it is always a good practice. So don't look at it from job point of view, but try to do it from practice point of view. Second is solve some of these problems, in statistics or real world machine learning problems, get the data out, try some model building on that, and then put it on GitHub. So that would be like your project portfolio. So you have a list of some projects, some codes that are available in GitHub, that are already available online. Put that link in your resume. That's it. So this gives points actually what happens, even because you won't have real world project experience. No, so this can help. Also try to see if during internship you can do some kind of internship during third year or fourth year or whatever it happens with some startups or somewhere where they do machine learning. That will give you some project experience. So all this will build your case basically. If nothing else, at least if you get an interview call, it will give you something to talk about. So that's how one can go ahead.
Okay. So I have a continuing question on this, Shayam.
Mhm.
So one of the major challenge I see is in India there are so many engineering colleges. So now, how many of them really get an opportunity or an interview call as a ML engineer? If I just try to, or is it mostly the ISI or the prominent institute grads? They are only, because one of the challenge I see is how many of them really get a call for the ML position as a fresher. I mean, can you comment a little bit on that?
Okay. Yeah, so you're right. Actually, too many colleges are there, and yes, basically, even as a hiring manager, sometimes people can feel that why should I go to take a fresher and then have that training cost basically to ramp him up and all that. Why don't I go for experience? But obviously, experience won't have other issues, cost and otherwise. But yeah, what I have seen so far that yes, as far as freshers are concerned, obviously a chunk of the roles go to the top prominent institutes. Obviously, IITs are there, then ISI, then even IIM Calcutta has a 2-year PG BBA course they are open. Basically, in that is basically with cooperation with I think IIT Kharagpur and ISI Kolkata. So
Yeah.
yes, that is also there. They get those roles, but the way to get calls is obviously one is how these private companies are doing. One is obviously depends on the placement cell that I have seen. Like some places of some even private colleges have a very good placement cell. They want to keep bring companies, and companies actually the way they see it is sometimes it's better to hire a fresher if somebody has good analytical skills, because then they can be easily what they feel that if somebody who is already good and has good analytic skills, and then it is easier to train them, and then they can grow into this role. So it's not like there is a dearth or less opportunities are there. There are opportunities. So there are a lot of companies. I'm not saying only product based companies. Nowadays almost every company is doing data science, right? uh, they will call it different names, like business analyst is also a role. So it's always not, it's not a bad idea, like even startups and all that, or some even companies like Mu Sigma, then Fractal, they hire from, I think, from almost most of the colleges actually. They even call for off campus placements also, like basically that off campus drive. So yeah, it doesn't happen that frequent, and that is more competitive, but there are still a lot of roles. So the job market is very huge. There are some companies which still don't understand the difference between what a business analyst is supposed to do, what is a machine learning engineer is, and what is a AI engineer. So they just define roles like that, and you will see there is a lot of overlap between the roles. But I would say that the opportunities are there. Even off campus also a lot of opportunities are there. But yes, if somebody can build a portfolio like I mentioned, some sort of project, some sort of good understanding, and some credibility, like work some internships, or at least after BTech, if somebody joins a startup and very fast paced startup and worked on some difficult problems, it builds a very good profile, and basically then one can get calls. And for junior level, I see that there are a lot of openings. Almost every company wants to do hire data scientists nowadays. So at fresher level, I don't see much of a problem nowadays. But yes, as and when we grow, and at senior levels, it is little different. But yeah, that's a talk for some another time. But currently, the market is very good. I don't know what will happen after 5 years, but it's not yet saturated. It's, the hype is still there, if I call it. But it's not just the hype. I think there is actual a shortage of good data scientists. So most of the data scientists that we see or we interview, like out of 30, we have to select only one, which we feel that he may or may not fit. So there's a lot of noise right now, and many people actually want to come to this field, and it's good time actually to make the change, or to go into this field for now. Yeah.
Okay.
Any more question, guys? We have 8 minutes left. So maybe I'm a little bit shifting the dial. Any question you have for full stack product development, what Devopam discussed, or anything specific to you want to ask to Roshan? This is the right time. We have still 8 minutes left.
I think Subhadeep has raised his hand basically. If Subhadeep, do you have any question, please unmute yourself and ask the question directly. Okay.
Okay. So maybe before we close the call, one last question I'll ask each of the panelists. So maybe Rohit, when you take the interview, what is one topic where you generally tend to ask a question? I mean, can you just tell one concept or one that, okay, this concept you will always ask a question to see whether the guy is good or not?
Basically, I always ask from the algorithms, like mostly in the deep dynamic programming. Okay, because that is very much essential to judge the skills. Okay. After that, uh, as my more core is the search and reco, so I try to get more and more intent of the data, means how the data analysis he can do, even like a simple like text match kind of things I can ask. Okay, so those kind of things generally I used to ask. Okay, and after that means uh, the traffic volume or those kind at the senior levels, but not at the fresher level. Fresher level only such kind of things, the dynamic programming, simple algorithms, then text-based algorithms. Okay, so like text analysis, I would like to check the candidate, means how he can handle the text analysis.
So what about you, Devapam? What kind of things when you take interview, you ask the candidate? Or maybe one, two concept you must ask all the time?
Mostly I ask on the algorithms. Okay, if the data structure and algorithm is strong, anybody can learn anything. Okay, so whoever is hands-on in data structure and algorithm, so I look for that one.
Okay, so what about you, Roshan?
Yeah, for my side also, first thing is data structure and algorithm, like common problems like searching, sorting, and like text match, loop. These are very basics, but this is very important. So any language you can use, but these common basic things need to be first. Like this they will ask in almost every first round, every first second round they will check for this.
Yeah. So Shayan, I have the same question, but in a slightly different way. So let's say you got a candidate who has no idea who has very little exposure to ML and which is natural, but you have to take a call. Okay, you are the final guy. You have to take a call whether you should select him. Can you tell one sample question you ask so that candidates get real feel? Okay, at a high level, one question. Okay, this is the kind of question you ask.
Okay. So, so okay. So okay. So it depends basically. So even though the person may not have very good ML skills, I'm assuming that he has some other skills like programming and all that is already there.
And he's fresher. Remember, he's fresher.
Okay. Okay. So in that case, I think it will be more. I will make the decision more on his analytical understanding, and the way I will understand his analytical ability is by giving him a case study. So a case can never be completely right or wrong answer. So basically, case is nothing but I will come up with a business situation, like a marketing manager has this problem. What do you think about it? What kind of data you would ask for? For example, one question can be like, okay, like let's say propensity to buy. Basically, I'm a retailer, and basically, I want to understand. Let's say I'm a retailer, big retailer. Let's say Walmart, and Walmart wants to understand. Walmart is thinking about opening a new store in, let's say, in this location. Let's say India, in Calcutta, we are thinking about opening a new store. So, just a point blank question: can you tell me who should be who? Can you tell me about who my customers are? So the cases are like that. So I would try to understand the thought process of the candidate. So the candidate is free to ask me question. If you need more details, you can ask. So how he's going to approach that problem, that is what I'm more interested in. He doesn't need to solve any algorithms or clustering or k-means or those kind of algorithms, but I just need to understand how he will approach the problem. So if he can think through logically, basically like retailer, what kind of people would be buying from Walmart, who are the competition in Calcutta, basically what is the role of e-commerce there, how frequent e-commerce is, how frequently people buy from Amazon and Flipkart, will they make the move to Walmart retail, if if we open a chain of stores, or single store is difficult, let's say we open a chain of stores. So that's what we look for. So if somebody can do it well, even for a fresher who can think analytically, and if he does well in the case, so as I said, in the case there is no exactly quantitatively right answer, but if you can make this kind of good questions, assumptions, and come up with a good explanation, I will take you. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a very, very good insight, Shayan. Yep. I think over to you, Shudipto.
Yeah. So right now we are at the last of this session. So thank you, Rohit, Roshan, Devopam, and Shine. Once again, thank you for your wonderful insight onto this wonderful session. And for the participant, we will provide you all these recordings in your WhatsApp group, and we will share also a feedback that you can ask question in there also. So we will definitely answer your question. Okay. So thank you all once again. Thank you very much.